Let's talk about a huge divide in science education today. It's a clash between learning facts versus learning skills. And honestly, understanding this divide could be the key to your child's future in a world that's getting smaller every day.
Think about it. Science class is a massive fork in the road for our kids. It can be the ticket into those super competitive STEM fields in India, or it can lead to research-focused universities pretty much anywhere else in the world. And believe me, which path they take matters a lot. But here's where things get tricky. Science isn't taught the same way everywhere, not even close. One system might be all about getting the right answer, being precise, while another is focused on the process of asking the right questions. You end up with two totally different ways of thinking.
So just imagine being a really bright student, someone who's always done well, and then suddenly you feel completely lost in the classroom. That's the shocking reality for so many kids who move between these different educational worlds. The expectations are different, and that gap can feel enormous.
This quote says it all. This is what a teacher in the UK told the parents of Nikita, a 7th grader who just moved from a CBSE school. See, Nikita could tell you the definition of germination perfectly, but when her teacher asked her to design an experiment to show how it works, she just froze. This is what we call lab shock, and it's a huge deal.
Nikita's story really brings this home. It's a perfect example of what we're calling the global science gap. So what is it about science that makes these differences feel so massive? Let's break it down. You see, science isn't just a list of facts to memorize. It's this rich mix of vocabulary, big concepts, curiosity, and of course, applying what you know through experiments and logic. So when a school system shifts its focus, say from concepts to experiments, it can feel like learning a whole new language.
All right, let's dive into our first approach. We're calling this one the architect. This is the philosophy that really drives the CBSE system, and it's all about building an incredibly strong structure of knowledge, one solid fact at a time.
So what's the architect's game plan? It's all about creating this powerful theoretical foundation. The priorities are structure, packing in knowledge, and above all else, accuracy. It's about knowing the right answer every single time.
And look, this approach has some serious strengths. Students build this incredibly solid base of knowledge. They master the definitions, the laws, the formulas. This makes them absolute powerhouses when it comes to competitive exams like NEET and JE, which are all about accuracy and a deep grasp of subjects like physics and chemistry.
So, the architect model is clearly fantastic in certain situations. But what happens when a student faces a problem that's not in the textbook? What do you do when there's no blueprint to follow?
And this, right here, is where a student moving to a different system can really hit a wall. They've got the theory down cold, but they don't have that hands-on experience of figuring things out for themselves. They can tell you what should happen in an experiment, but they really struggle to design one to show you why.
Okay, let's completely shift gears and meet our second approach, the explorer. This is the idea behind the IB system, and it's less about giving kids a map and more about teaching them how to read the stars and navigate the world on their own. The explorer's focus is fundamentally different. It's not about memorizing facts. It's about developing actual scientific skills. The whole point is to learn by asking questions, doing hands-on experiments, and applying what you learn to the real world.
So what does this journey actually look like for a student? Well, it starts with just looking at the world around them. That observation leads to a question, which then turns into a hypothesis. From there, they actually design their own experiment to test it. And finally, they look at the data and figure out what it all means. Science isn't just something you know, it becomes something you do.
Now, this way of learning builds skills that are just essential for today's research-driven world. Asking questions becomes a habit. Kids get comfortable in the lab. And crucially, they learn how to write about their findings, how to communicate like a scientist. This is a massive advantage in university, where you're not just graded on the right answer, but on your lab reports, on defending your ideas. You learn to actually be a scientist.
All right, we've met the architect and the explorer. So let's put them head to head. How do these two philosophies really stack up, and what does it mean for your child's education and their future?
This chart really breaks it down, doesn't it? The architect, CBSE, is laser-focused on content knowledge, making it perfect for exams that test your accuracy and recall. The explorer, IB, is all about the scientific method, which is a must-have for research and global careers. It's not about which one is better. It's about which one is a better fit for where your child wants to go. But here's the thing you've got to remember. This is a two-way street. We've talked about the lab shock CBSE students can face. Well, there's also a test shock for IB students moving into the Indian system. They can struggle with the sheer speed and the level of formula mastery required. It just goes to show, both systems have their own unique demands.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's not really about picking a winner, architect versus explorer. The real goal is to recognize the strengths of both and figure out how to build a well-rounded, global scientist who can succeed anywhere.
You see, this is the real secret. The ideal student, the one who's ready for anything, is both an architect and an explorer. They have that strong foundation of knowledge, but they also have the confidence and the skills to go out and make their own discoveries.
So what can you do? How can you help your child become that global scientist? Well, start by asking yourself a few key questions. Is your child likely to move globally for their education or career? Are those big Indian competitive exams the main goal? What's their learning style? And maybe most importantly, what can you do at home to help them connect the theory to the real world?
Because in the end, it really boils down to this one powerful question. Is the goal for your child to learn science facts to pass a test? Or is it to learn how to be a scientist, to think, to act, and to discover like one? The answer to that question will show you the way forward.